It's 6:12 in the morning and you are staring at a banking app on a cracked phone screen, watching a number that refuses to move. $340. It has said some version of $340 for what feels like your entire adult life. You add to it, you watch it climb, then a tire blows, or a tooth cracks, or rent jumps $80, and it slides right back down to $340 like water finding its level. You've started to believe the number is cursed, that some invisible hand reaches in every time you get close to real money and pulls you back down. It isn't a curse. It's math. And the cruelest part is this. The first $500,000 you ever build will feel harder than the $4 million that could come after it. Not a little harder. So much harder that most people quit before they ever find out the second half was going to be easy. Hold that $340 in your mind, and hold the word slope, because this is a story about a hill that gets steeper right before it disappears. You are 25. You make $3,100 a month after taxes, and by the time rent and the car payment and the phone bill take their cut, you are looking at maybe $200 you could actually move somewhere that isn't spent. You open a brokerage app your cousin Marcus swore by, and you put in $200. The screen says $200. It looks like a joke. Marcus, who drives for a delivery app and talks about money like a man who has already won, tells you that $200 is nothing, that you need to think bigger, that his buddy turned $500 into $9,000 on a coin last spring. You don't have a bigger. You have $200 and a slope you can't see yet. The first dollar is the loneliest dollar you will ever save because it has no company and no momentum and nothing to prove it will ever matter. It matters. You just won't be able to feel it for years. You are 27, 2 years in. The balance reads about $6,400. You put in nearly $5,200 of your own money, dollar by dollar, and the market added the rest while you were asleep or at work or arguing about whether you could afford this at all. $1,200 of free money. It should feel like a victory. Instead, it feels like almost nothing. Because you know what $6,400 buys, and it isn't freedom, it's a used transmission. At work, a woman named Priya from accounts asks why you bring lunch every day now. You tell her you're saving. She nods the way people nod when they've decided you're being dramatic. She leases a car that costs $540 a month and talks about it like it loves her back. You do the math on a napkin at your desk. Her car payment for 1 year is more than your entire balance. You say nothing. The napkin says everything. This is the part of the slope where every dollar you push seems to roll straight back down, and you start to understand why almost nobody gets past here. You are 30. 5 years in. The balance is around $22,000. You contributed about $16,000 of it, and time handed you the other $6,000 for the crime of not touching it. $22,000. It's the most money you have ever seen with your name on it, and it is still, by every honest measure, not enough to change a single thing about your Tuesday. That's the trap of the early climb. The number grows, but your life doesn't, and the gap between the two is where people rage quit. Marcus texts you a screenshot at 1 a.m. A ticker, green, up 380% in 9 days. He's put $4,000 in. He tells you your boring fund is for cowards, that you'll be saving nickels while he's on a beach. You've seen this shape before. A small number becoming a large number instantly, with no time in between, no work in the middle. Where you're from, that promise has a name, and the name is a lottery ticket. You text back good luck and mean it. 5 weeks later the coin is down 90% and Marcus has gone quiet. You keep pushing your stone up the same invisible hill. You are 33, 8 years in. The balance is about $46,000. You've put in roughly $27,000 of your own money, and the market has added nearly $19,000 on its own. Something small is happening that you almost miss. For the first time in a decent month, the account earns more than you could add by hand from a single paycheck. The stone is still heavy, but it's rolling now, just barely, on the flattest part of a slope you've been climbing blind. Then the year turns ugly. The whole market drops, headlines start using the word crash, and your balance falls by a third in a matter of weeks. $15,000, gone on paper, more than you cleared all year at your job. Priya, who dabbled last spring, tells you she pulled everything into cash, that she's safe now, that she saw it coming. You don't sell. It's quieter than a decision. You simply stop opening the app and keep the automatic $300 leaving every month, buying the same fund while it's cheaper than it's been in years. You're not brave. You're just too tired to panic, and doing nothing turns out to be the rarest skill in money. You are 36, 11 years in. The market came back the way it always has so far, and it came back onto shares you bought at the bottom while everyone else was hiding in cash. The balance is around $89,000. You've contributed about $38,000 total. Read that again, because the character of the whole thing just changed. More than half of this money was never yours to earn. It arrived. A stranger at a coffee counter, A guy named Dale who runs a small print shop gets talking to you in line about how impossible it all is, how a man like him will work until he dies. He's not wrong about the odds most people face. But you've quietly crossed a line he can't see, the line where your money started pulling its own weight. You don't tell him. You buy his coffee and let him think you're the same as him. The hill is finally starting to lean the other way. You are 40, 15 years in. The balance is around $168,000. You've put in about $52,000 of your own money across a decade and a half, and the account has more than tripled it without asking your permission. Here is the strange new fact of your life. In a strong year, the market now hands you more money than you earn at your actual job. The thing you built has taken a second job you never assigned it, and it works while you sleep, while you eat, while you sit in the same traffic you've sat in for 15 years. Marcus, still driving, still chasing the next green ticker, asks you half joking if you ever did anything with that little app. You tell him you stuck with it. He asks how much. You tell him. He laughs, but it's a different laugh now, thinner, the laugh of a man doing math he doesn't like. You change the subject. The $340 that used to be your whole world is now a rounding error inside a single day's movement. The slope has tipped. You are no longer pushing the stone. You are walking beside it. You are 44, 19 years in. The balance is around $310,000. You've contributed roughly $66,000 in total, 5 and 6 and 300 at a time, some small enough to lose in a couch cushion. Everything past that, nearly $250,000, is growth, time doing the work you refuse to interrupt. And now the acceleration is almost frightening. The account climbs faster in good months than you can push it in a year of paychecks. Priya, the one who leased the car that loved her back, gets laid off that spring. She has almost nothing behind her. A decade of $540 payments turned into nothing she can point to now. You have a number you've never touched sitting quietly behind your life like a second person who's been working the whole time. You don't tell her either. You listen, you buy her lunch, and you understand something you couldn't have at 27. The money was never really about being rich. It was a wall between you and the version of a bad year that ends in panic. The $500,000 is close enough now to see. And this is the part nobody warns you about. You are 47, 22 years in. The balance crosses $500,000. Sit with the shape of it, because it's the whole story in 3 figures. Of that $500,000, the amount you actually contributed, every $200 and $300, every skipped lease and packed lunch, 22 years of small refusals, is about $78,000. The other $422,000 is growth you never earned an hour for. And here is the thing that will change how you see your entire life. It took you 22 years to build the first $500,000. At the rate the account is now compounding on its own weight, the next $500,000 will not take 22 years. It will take closer to 7. The one after that, faster still. The hill you spent 2 decades climbing was the whole difficulty. You just had to survive long enough to reach the top, where it stops being a climb and becomes a fall in the direction you always wanted to go. Almost nobody survives the climb. Not because they can't do the math, but because the math is invisible for exactly as long as it takes to make most people quit. You are 50, 25 years from the morning you first stared at $340 on a cracked phone. The balance is around $760,000, and it is now growing, in an ordinary year, by more than double what you can contribute by hand. You have become a passenger to your own balance. Marcus retires the same decade you're planning to, except he isn't retiring. He's just getting older at the same job, still one green ticker away from the beach he was promising himself at 30. You stood at the same starting line. You made nearly the same money the whole way. The only thing you did differently was refuse the fast version of rich 25,000 mornings in a row and route the difference into the most boring place on earth. You don't tell him the number anymore. By now you understand the number is loudest when it stays completely silent. Somewhere right now it's 6:12 in the morning and someone is staring at a banking app on a cracked phone, watching a number that won't move. $340. Or some version of it, sliding back down every time they get close. They are pushing a stone up a hill they can't see the top of, and every dollar rolls back down, and the whole thing feels cursed, feels rigged, feels like the money is being kept from them by design. They are not wrong that it's hard. The first $500,000 really is the hardest, harder than everything that comes after it combined. But the difficulty was never a wall. It was a slope, and slopes end. The reason almost no one crosses is that the hill is steepest and longest at the exact place where you can't yet feel it starting to tip. You were never going to feel the $340 either way. You only ever got to choose whether it stayed a number that trapped you, or became the first small stone of a hill that eventually rolls for you, while you weren't paying attention.